So many of us live life thinking that happiness is this big, distant prize we have to chase after. Like it's waiting for us somewhere at the finish line. Maybe in a new job, a perfect relationship, a dream vacation, or finally hitting some number in our bank account. We set these goals, these markers, thinking, once I get there, then I'll be happy. But here's the thing. That kind of happiness rarely shows up just because we reach a milestone. It's like chasing a mirage that moves farther away, the closer we get. And until we learn this one simple truth, happiness will always feel just out of reach. Happiness isn't a destination. It's not a place you arrive at after checking off a list of accomplishments. Instead, happiness is a daily discipline. It's about how you choose to look at your day-to-day life, your thoughts, your habits, and the small moments you decide to hold on to or let go of. It's about the mindset you build over time, not the circumstances you hope for. Think about it this way. Imagine two people waking up on the same morning. One wakes up feeling grateful, excited to face the day, ready to find little joys even if everything isn't perfect. The other wakes up already anxious, focused on what's wrong or what's missing. Maybe both have the same job, the same challenges, even the same weather outside, but their happiness, or lack of it, comes from inside. It comes from the way they train their minds to see the world. And that's what daily discipline means, deciding every morning how you want to meet your life. I want you to pause and reflect on your own life for a moment. How often have you found yourself saying, "I'll be happy when I lose those extra pounds, when I get that promotion, when I find the right person, when I finally take that trip, or when some perfect moment happens?" That "when" traps us in a future that might never come exactly as we hope. We forget to find joy in the process, the struggle, the growth that's happening right now. This is where a shift happens. A shift from perfection to progress. Instead of waiting for that perfect moment to bring happiness, you start noticing the small wins. You celebrate the little steps you're taking every day, no matter how tiny they seem. Maybe you woke up on time, maybe you completed a small task, or maybe you just smiled at someone. These moments are the building blocks of happiness, not the big event you imagine in your head. Happiness grows when you develop habits that support your well-being. Things like pausing to breathe when life feels overwhelming, practicing kindness to yourself and others, focusing on what you can control instead of what you can't, and learning to be present even in uncomfortable moments. These aren't glamorous habits, but they're powerful. They create resilience and a deep sense of peace that no external success can match. And here's something beautiful. This daily discipline of happiness also frees you. It frees you from the exhausting cycle of chasing things that might not make you truly happy and opens the door to appreciating what you already have. When you realize that happiness is a practice, you no longer need to wait for your life to look perfect before you allow yourself to feel joy. Instead, you find it in the little moments, a warm cup of tea, a genuine laugh with a friend, the feeling of the sun on your face. There's a lesson here that comes from storytelling itself. When you create stories, whether it's about tiny astronauts working together on giant fruits, or the emotional struggles of a beloved character, you know that the most meaningful stories aren't about the easy moments. They're about the journey, the setbacks, the growth. Happiness is no different. It's not about having a perfect, trouble-free life. It's about embracing the process, including the hard parts, and learning to find joy in the steps you take forward. I know it's tempting to believe that if only things were different, you'd be happier. But if you keep waiting for that, you might miss all the happiness that's already there, waiting quietly in your everyday life. It's like waiting for a sunrise while sitting in a dark room. The light is coming, but you have to be willing to open the window and let it in. This is why the discipline to choose happiness daily is so important. It's a muscle you have, to exercise, not a switch you flip once and forget. You have to remind yourself each morning that happiness is found not in some future perfect event, but in the small moments, the progress you make, and the mindset you cultivate. That's the secret most people overlook, and until you truly understand this, happiness will always feel like a faraway dream. So today, start small. Notice something good in your day. Give yourself permission to feel joy even if everything isn't perfect. Celebrate your progress, not just your achievements. And remember, happiness is not waiting for you somewhere else. It's growing inside you right now. You know, so many of us live our lives chasing happiness like it's some distant place we'll arrive at someday. We think, once I get that promotion, then I'll be happy. Or, when I finally find the perfect relationship, my happiness will begin. Maybe it's, when I have enough money, then I'll feel truly fulfilled. But here's the reality. Happiness isn't something you reach. It's something you create every single day. Until you understand that, happiness will keep slipping through your fingers like sand. It's easy to fall into the trap of waiting for happiness, as if it's a reward for ticking off boxes on some invisible checklist. Society tells us to aim high and chase success, and that's good in many ways. But the mistake is believing that happiness is the finish line, rather than the journey itself. The truth is, you can have all the success in the world and still feel empty if you don't cultivate happiness inside yourself first. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning. You have the same challenges, the same imperfect circumstances, but this time, instead of waiting for a perfect moment, you decide to be happy right now. It's not about ignoring your problems or pretending everything is perfect. It's about choosing to see the small good things that often go unnoticed, the warmth of sunlight on your skin, the sound of birds outside your window, or the smile of someone you care about. Happiness is built on these little moments that too often get lost in our rush to make it or become someone. This shift, from chasing happiness to creating it, is what changes everything. Happiness is not a destination. It's a daily discipline. It's a muscle you have to exercise, not a switch you flip once and forget. When you wake up, you have a choice: to focus on what's missing or to appreciate what's present. And that choice, made again and again, forms the foundation of true happiness. We all have our reasons for waiting. Maybe you think, I'll be happy when my life is more stable, or when I achieve my goals. But here's the paradox. If you keep putting happiness off until then, you'll never really get there. Because life is always changing. The goalposts move, circumstances shift, and what seemed perfect yesterday might not be so perfect tomorrow. The trick isn't in chasing a moving target. It's in finding contentment in the process, and that doesn't mean you stop striving. In fact, true happiness thrives alongside growth and progress. But there's a difference between striving with joy and striving out of dissatisfaction. When you're caught up in dissatisfaction, you're always focused on the gap between where you are and where you want to be. You lose sight of the progress you've already made and the small victories along the way. Progress, even if it's slow and imperfect, is what fuels happiness. It reminds you that you're moving forward, that you're learning, and that your life is unfolding. Think about a story, any story you've connected with deeply. The heroes aren't happy because everything is perfect. Their happiness comes from their growth, their resilience, and the little moments of triumph in the midst of struggle. Life works the same way. Your daily choices, your mindset, and your habits are the chapters that build your story of happiness. It's also about how you treat yourself along the way. So often, we're our own worst critics, setting impossibly high standards and beating ourselves up when we don't measure up. But if you want to learn happiness, you have to learn kindness. Kindness toward yourself. That means allowing space for mistakes, celebrating effort instead of just results, and speaking to yourself like you would to a friend. That kind of self-compassion is one of the most powerful steps you can take toward daily happiness. There's something deeply freeing about realizing that happiness isn't out there waiting for you, but is something you nurture inside. It means you don't have to depend on external things or approval to feel good. You can create your own joy, no matter what's happening around you. This doesn't mean ignoring pain or difficulties. Far from it. It means holding space for them without letting them consume your whole experience. I've noticed, especially in the stories I've come across, and even in my own life, that happiness often blooms quietly in the small, everyday things. It's in the act of gratitude, in the pause before reacting, in the choice to focus on what's going well instead of what's going wrong. It's in the decision to be present, even when the future feels uncertain. When you practice this daily discipline, something remarkable happens. You start to see life with new eyes. You notice progress, no matter how small. You find moments to be grateful for. You give yourself permission to enjoy the present instead of postponing happiness for some future event. And with that comes a deeper, more lasting sense of peace. It's so easy to fall into the trap of comparing ourselves to others. In fact, it's almost like a natural habit these days, especially with how much time we spend scrolling through social media, watching highlight reels of people's lives that look perfect. But what's dangerous about comparison is that it steals your joy without you even noticing. When you constantly measure your life against someone else's, you start feeling like you're not enough, like you're missing out or falling behind. And that feeling can be incredibly heavy, dragging you down and making happiness feel impossible to reach. We often forget that what we see on screens, on Instagram posts or TikTok videos, is carefully curated. People show the best parts of their lives, the vacations, the celebrations, the achievements, but rarely the struggles, the failures, or the ordinary moments that don't make it online. So when you look at someone's perfect life and compare it to your own messy, complicated reality, you're comparing your full, behind-the-scenes story to someone else's highlight reel. It's no wonder you feel like you're coming up short. This comparison game is not just a harmless distraction. It can become a deep source of unhappiness. It makes you doubt yourself, your choices, and your worth. You might start asking questions like, why didn't I get that job? Why don't I have the same friends, the same relationship, or the same opportunities? Instead of feeling proud of where you are and what you've accomplished, you feel envy and dissatisfaction. That feeling eats away at your peace and blinds you to your own blessings. Here's the truth. You'll never feel truly happy until you stop measuring your life by someone else's timeline. Your path is unique, with its own timing, challenges, and victories. Comparing your journey to another's is like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. It just doesn't work. Instead, what you need is to appreciate your own story, with all its ups and downs, and learn to find contentment in where you are. It's easier said than done, though. When we see others succeeding or living seemingly perfect lives, it triggers something inside us, a desire, a fear, or even a sense of inadequacy. But rather than letting those feelings control you, try to shift your perspective. Instead of thinking, why not me? Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Maybe someone's success inspires you to work harder or try something new. Maybe their story reminds you that everyone faces struggles you don't see. This kind of mindset turns comparison into a tool for growth rather than a trap for despair. Another powerful way to break free from comparison is to focus on gratitude. When you actively notice and appreciate what you have, it becomes harder to envy what you don't. Gratitude shifts your attention away from what's missing to what's present. It helps you see your own progress, your strengths, and the small joys that make life meaningful. And the more you practice gratitude, the more naturally happiness flows. It also helps to remember that success and happiness don't look the same for everyone. What feels fulfilling to one person might not to another. Maybe your friend thrives in a bustling city career while you find joy in quiet moments with family. Maybe someone's highlight reel includes flashy achievements, but your happiness comes from personal growth or creative expression. When you accept that there isn't one right way to live, you free yourself from the pressure of comparison. Sometimes comparison comes from a place of insecurity. You might feel uncertain about your worth or your direction, so you look outward for validation. But the key is to turn that search inward instead. Build your self-confidence by recognizing your own values and strengths, independent of others. Celebrate your small wins, your resilience, and your unique talents. When you root your happiness in your own truth, the need to compare fades. It's also important to be mindful of the company you keep and the content you consume. Surround yourself with people who uplift and encourage you, not those who make you feel less than. Curate your social media feeds to include voices and stories that inspire you, rather than trigger comparison. Take breaks from the noise when you need to reconnect with yourself. One of the most powerful lessons I've learned is that your worth is not defined by how you stack up against others, but by who you are at your core. You have your own gifts, your own story, and your own purpose. When you embrace that, comparison loses its grip. You start living with a sense of freedom, free to pursue what matters to you, free to be imperfect, and free to find joy in your own way. Happiness isn't about having what everyone else has. It's about loving what you have and who you are becoming. So when the urge to compare creeps in, remind yourself that your journey is yours alone. It's beautifully imperfect, uniquely timed, and perfectly suited for you. Once you stop comparing, you open the door to a kind of joy that isn't fragile or fleeting. You begin to appreciate the moments that make your life meaningful, and you find peace in knowing that your path, no matter how different it looks, is enough. That is where true happiness begins. We often think that happiness means avoiding pain or hardship, that it's about living a life free from struggle. But the reality is quite different. Pain, challenges, and difficulties are part of the human experience, and they play a huge role in shaping who we are and how we find meaning in life. If you want to truly understand happiness, you have to learn to embrace your pain, not run from it, not deny it, but recognize that your struggles have a purpose. Until you learn this, happiness will always feel shallow or incomplete. Think about the stories that move you most deeply, the ones that stay with you long after you hear them. Often, these stories are not about people who had it easy. They are about people who faced hardships, who overcame obstacles, and who found strength in their struggles. Whether it's a story about a tiny astronaut working tirelessly on a giant fruit, or a tale of someone dealing with loss or failure, the emotional weight comes from the pain and the journey, not from an absence of difficulty. This is true for our own lives too. Our pain carries lessons that, when understood, can transform us and open the door to a deeper happiness. Many of us try to avoid pain because it's uncomfortable and hard. We distract ourselves, push feelings down, or pretend things are fine when they're not. But when we refuse to face pain, it lingers beneath the surface, quietly draining our energy and clouding our joy. It's like carrying a hidden burden we don't acknowledge. The first step toward real happiness is to be honest with yourself about your pain. Give yourself permission to feel it fully without judgment. That's not weakness, it's courage. Once you start facing your pain, you can begin to see it from a new perspective. Instead of just suffering, you can ask, what is this trying to teach me? How can I grow from this? Pain often points us toward what matters most in life: our values, our connections, our purpose. It pushes us to reevaluate, to change course, and to find strength we didn't know we had. When you learn to see pain as a teacher rather than an enemy, you shift from being a victim of circumstances to an active participant in your own healing and growth. This doesn't mean pain is easy or that you should romanticize suffering. Pain hurts, and it's real. But the meaning you give it is what shapes your experience. Two people can go through similar hardships and come out with very different outlooks. One might feel broken and defeated, while the other finds resilience and hope. The difference is in how they process and learn from their pain. Another thing to remember is that pain connects us. When you face your struggles, you gain empathy for others who suffer. You understand what it means to be human, imperfect, vulnerable, and trying. That empathy deepens your relationships and your sense of belonging. It makes happiness richer because it's not just about personal pleasure, but about shared human experience. Sometimes, it's in our lowest moments that we discover who we truly are. Pain strips away pretense and forces us to confront ourselves. Honestly, it reveals our strengths and weaknesses and often opens a door to transformation. Maybe it's a moment of loss that leads you to appreciate love more deeply, or a failure that teaches you resilience. These moments shape your character and your capacity for joy. It's also worth noting that the most meaningful happiness often follows hardship. If you've ever achieved something after struggle, you know the satisfaction feels deeper than if it came easily. The contrast makes joy more vivid, more precious. When you've faced pain and come through it, happiness isn't just a fleeting feeling. It's a profound state of being. This idea shows up in so many cultures and philosophies. People have long recognized that suffering is part of the path to wisdom and fulfillment. It's not about seeking pain, but about accepting it as part of the journey. When you stop fighting against pain and start learning from it, you free yourself from the endless cycle of trying to escape discomfort and instead grow into a more whole, resilient person. Of course, this process takes time. Healing and growth don't happen overnight. There will be days when pain feels overwhelming, when happiness seems impossible. But those days don't define your entire journey. Each step you take to face your pain, each moment you choose understanding over denial, brings you closer to a deeper, more lasting happiness. There's a simple truth that many of us overlook when it comes to happiness. You don't need more to be happy. You need to notice more. It sounds almost too easy, right? But the power of gratitude is enormous. When you shift your focus from what's missing in your life to what's already there, something inside you changes. You open the door to real joy, and that joy isn't dependent on your circumstances or the things you own. It's a deep, lasting peace that flows from appreciation. Gratitude is like a lens that colors how you see your life. When you look through it, the ordinary becomes extraordinary. The morning coffee, the smile from a stranger, the warmth of your home, all become sources of happiness rather than things you take for granted. It's a practice, not just a feeling. The more you intentionally look for reasons to be grateful, the more you train your mind to find joy in everyday moments. And the best part is that gratitude doesn't require big events or major accomplishments. It thrives in small, simple things. Think about how easy it is to get caught up in what we don't have. Social media, advertising, and even conversations with others often highlight what's missing or what could be better. It's like a constant reminder that we need more to feel complete. But the truth is, chasing more can create a never-ending cycle of dissatisfaction. No matter how much you get, the feeling of enough can feel just out of reach. Gratitude breaks that cycle by helping you see that you already have what you need to be happy. This doesn't mean you should stop dreaming or striving for better things. Ambition and goals are important. They give life direction and purpose. But when ambition becomes the only source of happiness, it puts your joy on hold until the next achievement. Gratitude allows you to celebrate your progress and your present blessings while still working toward your dreams. It creates balance. One of the most powerful ways to practice gratitude is by simply paying attention. Notice the little things that bring a moment of peace or pleasure, a gentle breeze, a kind word, a beautiful sunset. When you pause and acknowledge these moments, you deepen your connection to life. You begin to understand that happiness isn't about grand gestures or perfect conditions. It's about appreciating the beauty in what's already around you. Gratitude also shifts your mindset away from scarcity to abundance. Instead of feeling like there's never enough, you start to feel like there's plenty. Plenty of love, plenty of opportunities, plenty of reasons to smile. This abundance mindset opens you up to more positive experiences because your brain is wired to notice what you focus on. When you focus on abundance, you attract more of it into your life. There's something else about gratitude. It strengthens relationships. When you express appreciation to others, it deepens bonds and creates a sense of connection. People feel valued and seen, and that creates a cycle of positivity that benefits everyone involved. Whether it's thanking a family member, a friend, or even a colleague, these small acts of gratitude build a stronger support system and enrich your social life, which is closely tied to happiness. It's also important to be grateful for yourself. We often overlook our own efforts, strengths, and resilience. Taking time to recognize your own growth, your small victories, and the ways you've overcome challenges can boost your self-esteem and inner peace. When you treat yourself with kindness and appreciation, you nurture your happiness from within. Sometimes life feels overwhelming, and it's hard to feel grateful when things are tough. But that's exactly when gratitude can be most powerful. It doesn't deny hardship. Instead, it reminds you that even in difficult times, there are still things to hold on to. Lessons learned, moments of kindness, small wins that keep you moving forward. Gratitude in tough times is a form of courage, a way of choosing to see light in the darkness. Many of the most joyful people I've met are not those with the most material wealth or perfect lives, but those who have learned to find gratitude in the midst of struggle. Their happiness doesn't depend on changing their circumstances. It comes from a deep appreciation of what they do have, even if it's not everything they want. This kind of gratitude creates a happiness that is resilient and lasting. Practicing gratitude can be as simple as keeping a journal where you write down a few things you're thankful for each day. Or it might be pausing before meals to appreciate the food or taking a moment before bed to reflect on positive moments. The exact practice doesn't matter as much as the intention behind it, the choice to notice and value the good in your life. When you cultivate gratitude, you build a foundation for happiness that no external event can shake. It becomes a habit of the heart and mind, a steady source of contentment regardless of what's happening around you. You begin to live with a sense of fulfillment that isn't tied to possessions or accomplishments, but rooted in appreciation. So, often, we wait for happiness to come from something big, an award, a new car, a dream vacation. But those moments, while exciting, are fleeting. Gratitude invites you to find happiness in the now, in the everyday. It invites you to see that happiness isn't a prize you win, but a gift you give yourself by recognizing the abundance already present. As you start to notice more and appreciate more, you'll find that happiness naturally follows. It grows quietly, but steadily, transforming your outlook and your experience of life. Gratitude is the key that unlocks this joy, inviting you to live fully and peacefully in the present moment. And that is where true happiness begins.